students, welcome you all on the behalf of Rahul Anand Tutorials. So as you know that I am Rahul Anand and this is somewhat on my channel whose name is actually the Rahul Anand Tutorials. So now let's begin with the very interesting topics which are often being asked in terms of your Neet, often the Aims, often the All India Pre-Medical Examination. So these are literally belonging from which of the chapters of your book? So these are belonging from the Anatomy of Flowering Plants. So now let's understand about these means what are actually the anatomy of the flowering plants. In terms of what? In terms of the monocotyledonous, then in terms of the dicotyledonous plant. So primarily here we will be understanding about what? So we will be understanding about the monocotyledonous plant. Often in these we will be understanding about the root. So for understanding these things, meaning in order in terms of what? Meaning in order in terms of the anatomy of the dicotyledonous as well as the monocotyledonous plant, you have to go through with reference to what? You have to go through with reference to the certain of the information regarding on the basis of the tissue level of organization. In terms of what? In terms of the here, where? In terms of the roots as well as the leaves, often in terms of the stems. So for particularly understanding the information, you have to get the knowledge of what things. Tell me of the here, many times the transverse section of the mature parts of the plant with reference to what? With reference to the dicotyledonous plant as well as what? As well as the monocotyledonous plant. Often these are being further divided on the basis of the three broad categories in terms of what? In terms of the organ wise, such as what? Such as we are having the here many terms of the root as well as what? As well as the stems as well as what? As well as the leaves. So now here we are going to study about what? So here we are going to study about the root in terms of what? In terms of the monocotyledonous root. So these are often popularly known as what? So your monocotyledonous root are popularly known as the monocot root. So now let's understand about this in terms of the detail. So when we are talking about the monocotyledonous root, so it will be having the presence of what things, tell me? So it will be having the presence of the here many terms the epidermis. Then you will be often having the presence of the cortex. Then you will be having the presence of the endoderms. Then you will be often having the presence of the Casparian stems. Then what? Then the here many terms the cortex. Then what? Then often you will be having the presence of the pericycle as well as the here many terms the proxylems in terms of what? In terms of the protoxylems. Then what? Then the metaxylems as well as you will be often having the pith in terms of what? In terms of the, tell me, in terms of the monocotyledonous root. Often these are known as the monocot root. So now let's understand about this in terms of the details. So you could often popularly find here on the board. Here is the particular diagram. It will be often having the root here. And mean what? Mean it will be having the projection like structure. Remember? So when we were talking about the tissue level organization, you remember we have talked about these means what are actually the meristematic tissue. Often what? So these are often being divided in terms of the broad categories. So primarily your meristematic tissue. Then what? Then you will be having the permanent tissue. In order, when we are talking about the meristematic tissue, so these are having what? So these are having the unique potential to divide, then what? Then redivide. So these are often being divided in terms of what? In terms of the three broad categories. So these are actually what? Tell me. So these are the apical meristem, then what? Then the intercalary meristem. Then we are often having the lateral meristem. Now, so let's understand about these things in terms of the detail. So primarily, when we are talking about these, what are actually the apical meristem? In these are often being divided in terms of what? In terms of the two broad categories. So these are what? So these are the root apical meristem, then the shoot apical meristem. As well as when we are talking about these cases, what are actually the intercalary meristem? Often where it will be particularly being found. So it will be found with reference to what? With reference to the mature gene. With reference to what? With reference to the mature regions of the what? Of the here mate of the meristematic. So when we are talking about these cases, what are actually the here made of the apical meristem. So you are very clearly understood about that. After that you will be having what? So after that you will be having the intercalary meristem. Remember? So their presence will be in what region? So their presence will be in between of the mature regions with reference to what? With reference to the here made of the meristematic tissue. Then in the third we are having what? So in the third we will be having the lateral meristem. Often these are particularly being divided in terms of what? Mean your meristem. In order in terms of what? In terms of the meristematic tissue. In terms of the three broad categories. Before that, it will be oftenly being divided in terms of the two broad categories. So these are what? So these are the primary meristems. Then you will be having the secondary meristem. Often when we are talking about the case of the primary meristem, so these are resembling what kind of the life? So these are particularly resembling the early life cases. In the second you are having what? So in the second you are having the lateral meristem. So it will be particularly resembling what? So it will be resembling the lateral life, means in terms of what? Mean in terms of the peripheral life. So we'll be understanding about that later. Now, so when we are talking about these cases in terms of the intercalary meristem, often in terms of the lateral meristem. So what are actually the lateral meristem? These presents are particularly being found with reference to the cambium region. Remember, so you are often being divided. Many of the cambium are particularly being divided in terms of the two broad categories. So these are what? So these are the cord cambium. Then you are having the lateral cambium, or either the vascular cambium. Now, so when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the cord cambium? It will be present in terms of what region? So it will be found with reference to the bark region. Remember, after that you are having what? So after that you are having the lateral mediastinum. So when we are talking about the case of the lateral mediastinum, so it will be present where? So it will be particularly present, or either it will be tracked with reference to the xylem as well as the phloem region. As well as when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the xylem as well as the phloem. So you are very clear about that. Remember, so what are actually xylem? Tell me. So xylem are the here main of the fluid vascular substances of it. These are particularly containing as well as composed of what things? Mean of the xylem. So when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the xylem? Remember, tell me. So xylem are generally composed of the dead cells. Oftenly, these are playing important role in order for what? In order for the transportation mechanism of the water as well as the minerals. As well as when we are talking about these cases, main term of the H2O, so you are very clear. But when we are talking about the case of the minerals, so you are oftenly being clear about that, means what are actually the minerals. In these cases, we will be having what things? So we will be having the presence of the biomolecules in terms of what? In terms of the chemicals. And these chemicals will be nothing else but in terms of what? In terms of the nutrients. In terms of the macronutrients as well as the micronutrients. Often what? Often the broader kinds of the chemicals. Such as what? Such as we are having the boron, then we are having the molybdenum, then we are having the copper, often the zinc, as well as what? Often we will be having the phosphorus, then what? Then the potassium, often the sodium as well as the calcium. Thus, these are coming under what case? So these are coming under the chemicals, often the minerals cases. Often when we are particularly being understanding about these cases, in terms of the thus, when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the xylem. So you are very popularly understanding about that. Remember, so the particularly xylem are basically being composed of what things? So these are being composed of the dead cells. Often these are particularly playing important role in order for the transportation of what things? In order for the transportation of the waters as well as the minerals. Oftenly when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the minerals. So you are very clear about that. Remember, so these are nothing else but the biochemicals as well as the molecules as well as the chemicals. Literally coming under from what case? Coming under from the nutrients case. Remember, there we have understood about the certain types of the facts as well as what? As well as the nutrients, such as what? Such as the macronutrients or either the micronutrients. So these are particularly coming under what case or having what kind of the broadens in terms of the example. So these are nothing else but what? But the nitrogen, then the phosphorus, then what? Then the calcium, often the molybdenum as well as the copper. Then we are often having the sulfur as well as what? As well as the here main term of the, tell me, the phosphorus. Often we will be having the another type of the components in terms of these. So these are literally coming under what case? So these are literally coming under from the mineral cases. As well as when we are talking about the broadens or either what? The dividation of the xylem region. So these are particularly being divided in terms of the three broad categories. So these are actually what? So these are the tracheids. Then what? Then we are having the vessels. Then what? Then we are having the xylem parenchyma. Now let's understand about these things in order in terms of the detail. So when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the tracheids? The tracheids are composed of what things? So these are particularly resembling the here main term of the tubular shaped structure. And when we are talking about the role of these cases, main term of what? Main term of the tracheids. So these are playing important role, just like what? So just like the here main term of what? Main term of the xylem role. So it will be often playing an important role to transport the water as well as the minerals cases. After that, you are having the vessels region. So the vessels are oftenly bearing what? So these are oftenly bearing the tubular shaped structure. Oftenly, these are the final end, playing important role to trap what? To trap actually these components, such as what? Such as the water minerals. So you are very clear about that, means water actually the H2O as well as the water actually the minerals. So nothing to make you explain about that. After that you are having what? So after that we are having the xylem parenchyma. Talking about the role of the xylem parenchyma. So these are composed of what things? So these will be composed of the living cells. Oftenly playing important role, mean in order in term of what? In order in term of the xylem parenchyma. To store what? To store the food ingredients. And here, when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the food ingredients. Remember, so all the biochemicals as well as the components which are playing important role to translate what? To translate the components in order in terms of the energy supplement mechanism with reference, play important role to encode these particularly biomolecules in terms of what? In order in terms of the genetic energy cases, such as what? Such as you are having the ATP. Remember, so we are having the adenine triphosphate. So these are literally what? So these are the composition with reference to the energy supplement, or either what? Or either the basic unit of what? Of the energy in terms of the requirement with reference to the mitochondria cases. In turn, we'll be having the complex body of the plant cases. So these are particularly what? The particularly component or either the SI unit with reference to your energy level. Meaning that in terms of what? Meaning that in terms of the ATP. After that, when we are talking about this case, meaning in terms of the xylem, remember? So your xylem resemblance as well as the fluence of what? The biomolecules as well as the components will be taking place with reference to what? So your xylem playing important role as well as its fluence will be what? In what direction? So these are quite a bit, tell me. So these are quite a bit unidirectional in nature. So particularly from one directional in nature. Of course, understood as well as clear, as well as when we are talking about these cases. So in this case, the transportation mechanism will be of course employed. And when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the transportation mechanism originated as well as being final towards what region. So you are oftenly being very clear about that. Remember? So when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the xylem as well as the phloem. So you are very clear about that. Remember? So in the case of the xylem, we will be having the directional or either the unidirectional flow of energy will be taking place. As